Hi, this is Alcan. Welcome back to my channel. Um, well, I have a little Halloween story to tell. I know it's November 1st, but the story starts on October 31st and ends badly on November 1st. That's why I always pay attention where I'm going. Okay, story starts on October 31st, New York City. The headquarters of the Brooklyn Rapid Transit Company gets a call saying that their engineers, the members of the Brotherhood of Engineers that operates the Brooklyn Rapid Transit trains, will be going on strike on November 1st, which is 101 years ago today. So, what happens? Yes, they go on strike. Management gets replacement workers. Employees are now on strike. So it's management personnel. Some of them never operate trains. Get on the train. Everything seemed to be well, including one dispatcher named Luciano. He just came back from fighting the influenza virus, which is now known as the flu. And his daughter unfortunately didn't make it. So, yeah, this is kind of scary, isn't it? So he just came back, middle of the strike. He went to operate train. It was okay. I guess he did his full 8 hours. Problem was when he was about to leave, oh no, you gotta go down to Park Road Station and pick up a train to go to the Brighton Beach Express. Don't know what the terminal was for the other side. Could have been Brighton Beach, could have been Chester Bay, could have been Coney Island. Anyway, so picks up the train, and by the way, he doesn't even know this line very well. He goes to Park Row in Manhattan, which is across from the Brooklyn Bridge. It used to be a huge terminal there. It's not there anymore. It's all torn down in 1944. So, he picks up the train, leaves. Everything seems to be fine until he started getting off the Brooklyn Bridge, and then his operation was getting a little wild. It looks like he was going to be jumping off the curb, entering Sand Street, another huge terminal. Anyway, now he had to go on the 2-track line for the Fulton Street L to Franklin Avenue. And again, his operation was anything but great. Now, Franklin Avenue, he operates too fast. Tower operator was about to change the lineup, let him into what is now the Franklin Avenue Shuttle, but he was going so fast he thought he was the City Express, not the Brighton Beach Express. So he let the train go and avoided a disaster in the intersection there. Of course, now that section of L used to been what was left of the line until until it was torn down in the renovations of the Franklin Avenue Shuttle years later, in the late 90s. Anyway, this reminds me of the Franklin Avenue Shuttle, all this stuff. Anyway, after they get him back on the correct track and goes on the shuttle, now all these people are beginning to realize this motorman isn't what he's up. He's not up to doing the assignment. So what happens next? Simple. He starts operating erratically again, down those stations, and then next thing you know, Everybody decided, a lot of people decided to get off at Park Place Station. That was the last stop that people got off the train. In fact, he's operated before everybody got off the train. They jumped off, physically jumped off to avoid riding the train any further. There was one more stop, Botanical Gardens, but then it was called Consumer Park. Anyway, somebody wanted to get off. Conductor rings the bell on the old equipment, but unfortunately, Marbone was running erratically so badly, he misses the station. So anybody wanted to get off, that was the last hope. Now the equipment he's operating on is made out of wooden cars. Somebody's here. And at that time in 1918, there was a debate about wooden cars on railroads. Yeah, when they have an accident, they do have a tendency of coming apart. So unfortunately, for the poor souls who were still on this train, they're heading for disaster. Remember, this Marbone doesn't know this line too well. Now, next stop is Prospect Park. Now, the line goes from 2 tracks to 4 track. But to get to the track he needs, he has to go into a tunnel and do an S curve. So what happens? The S curve is marked, by the way, 6 miles per hour. Some people stated he was going like between 45 and 70 miles per hour. Yes, a recipe for disaster. So what happens? He goes way too fast. He goes left. He goes right. Then next thing you know, looks like it was going to make it, but then all of a sudden, the rear wheels of the train derailed. Next thing you know, the first car hits the wall, the second car hits into the first car, and they're all starting to disintegrate. Then the third into the second car, and then the fourth car. All those cars disintegrated. And the violent collision kept going and going and going. It was so violent that when the fourth car hit the wall, it ripped the couple off the fifth car, and the train came to a stop without any further damage. So all the survivors were in the fifth car or in the first car. Everyone else is where the casualties took place. Well, not all of them. As the cars came apart and came to a rest, some people did manage to get out of those cars and try to climb to safety. But unfortunately, the powerhouse people noticed that the power went out in that area. They thought their saboteurs were messing with the power. So unwisely, they turned the power back on. And then they did, so a lot more people got electrocuted. Then the power went out again. This time they decided not to do anything about it. But being in 1918, there was no radios, there's no cell phones. There was no way for people to communicate what happened. Unfortunately, at the same time this was happening, there was the flu epidemic was still raging on in the city, and a lot of the ambulance was taking people who were stuck with the influenza virus to the hospital, so it made the rescue even more difficult. So in the end, that's why 97 people died, because the train was poorly constructed, not for safety. Motormen didn't know how to operate on this line, inexperience, and not being cautious when he was operating. And plus with the influenza outbreak is a recipe for disaster. Of course, to make matters worse, the man who called the BRT offices the night before was John Francis Highlander, the mayor of New York and a former motorman of the BRT, who they fired. So now, when all the news about the incident took place, the hanging judge was coming to town. That's what they called him. Oh, everybody went to jail. Management. Something you don't see today. Yes, Luciano got arrested too. He left the scene of the accident, went home. So, of course, it was all Saints Day. He noticed that. He was lucky to be alive. But unfortunately, like everybody else, he was charged with the 97 deaths that took place that night. But unfortunately, nobody got prosecuted for the accident. It's like the Triangle Shirt Fire of 1911. Same thing happened. I'm sure they had to compensate the families, but the mayor of New York was going to make sure that the BRT went down for the count. Well, it sort of did. So, not long after the accident, they went bankrupt. By 1923, they reorganized and it became the Brooklyn Rapid Transit. From Brooklyn Rapid Transit to Brooklyn Manhattan Transit. Sorry. The story's getting me so excited. I'm fumbling my words. Anyway. But the street name Marbone Street could not survive. It too was a casualty of the accident. Now, when you try to find Marbone Street, you won't find it on the map. But you will find it's a street now called Empire Boulevard. Well, this is Al Can saying so long for now, and don't forget to stop. Yes, it may be 100 years in the making, but it's still a hard story to tell. All right.